Well, hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, my top 10 safety tips for the drill press. Well, this week on Alternative Tuesday, we continue with our top 10 list of safety tips for the major machines in your shop. And we're going to head over to the drill press and start it off with number 10. Number 10. Well, number 10 might seem foolish to some, but what it has to do with is when you're drilling larger holes. And what I would suggest is don't go straight to the large hole. Drill pilot holes first and step up to get to the size you want. You'll find that you get a lot better cut, you get a better quality hole, and on top of that, you're not risking injury, because if you go straight to the large bit, it can have a tendency to grab your stock and try to spin it, and then of course you could be injured by that. So at number 10, pilot holes and stepping up to drill larger holes. Number 9. Number 9 is all about choosing the correct bit for the stock that you're drilling. You don't want to be using, say, a brad point to try to drill steel. It'll snap the brads off, it'll snap the points off the edge, your cutting edge. It'll cause the steel to fly back at you. It's not a good thing. Same thing as titanium twist bits. Great for cutting steel. I don't really like them in wood. I find they grab too much. And of course, if you need flat bottom holes, use a Forstner, but you don't want to use them for a through hole unless, of course, you don't have a bit that size. Like I wouldn't use a 5/16 Forstner bit to do a through hole when I could put the proper size bit in. So here at number 9, be sure to use the proper style or type of bit for the operation that you're doing. Number 8. Number 8 is all about the RPM of the machine. Revolutions per minute, how fast the thing spins. And what does that have to do with safety? Well, what it has to do with is bits are rated for their speed. This Forstner bit here is rated for a maximum of 1200 RPMs. You don't want to exceed that RPM. I have some Forstner bits that are rated at 350 RPM. So you want to set your drill press accordingly and get the proper RPM for the bit that you're using. Now, what if your drill press does not have fancy schmancy LED readout? Well, that's simple. Most drill presses will have a speed chart up inside the lid, and that speed chart will include the RPM for each pulley setup that is in that drill press. They all have a range. So make sure that your belt is set on the proper pulleys to get the proper RPM for your bit. It has a lot to do with quality of work, but it also has to do with damaging the equipment and having pieces come back at you, or grabbing your stock and spinning it out of control. So here we go. Don't exceed the RPM rating of your bits. Number 7. Well, number 7 is all about, as much as possible, keeping your hands clear of the chuck and the bit that's installed in it. And the best way to do that is to use Holddowns as much as you can. Now, whether that be commercially available Holddowns like this one here, or shop made like this one here, you want to make sure that you've got something there so that your stock is fully supported and held in place while you're drilling. So by clamping it down, just like I'm doing here, and I'll use a commercial one on this side, but by clamping it down, you're preventing your stock from moving And you're also making it so that your hands don't have to be anywhere near this stock. This is pretty dead solid on here, and I should be able to drill where I want without a problem and without having to worry about my hands getting injured or getting too close to the spinning bit. Holddowns. They're a great thing to use on the drill press. Number 6. Well, coming in at number 6, we really have something that is more about the bits that you use rather than about the drill press. And what that is making sure that your bits are sharp. This is a commercially available sharpener for twist bits. But with things like, say, a Forstner bit, you can always file those sharp with a diamond honing file. There's many different ways to sharpen bits, guys, and I'm not going to get into them because it's just way too much to put in this segment of the program. But the point of this number 6 is make sure your bits are sharp. A sharp bit is more effective. It cuts cleaner, it cuts safer, less chance of grabbing, and it makes it so your drill press doesn't have to work so hard, guys. Keep your bits sharp. Number 5. Well, it's a nice autumn day and you come out to your shop to do a little bit of work, but it's chilly. So what do? You have this sweater on, but look at my sleeves. This isn't acceptable. It shouldn't be like this. It should be like this. Guys, at number 5, you want to get rid of all that loose, baggy clothing. This thing spins at various RPMs while you're using it, and different size bits have less or more ability to grab. If it should grab onto that loose sleeve, it's pulling you in. And what's going to happen when it pulls you into that bit is going to have its way with you, because that bit is designed to cut materials, again, that are stronger than what your hands and your arm are. I've seen it. It's not pretty, and it's so avoidable. So no loose clothing, tie back long hair, that sort of thing. If you need to wear a sweater in the shop, guys, tape the wrists so that they're tight around the wrist, so there's nothing that can slide down and get caught up in the bit. Pull it up a few inches if you have to and tape that up there. Best case scenario, wear a t-shirt. Or if, as I say, if you do have to wear a long sleeve shirt, have it as a button-up cuff so that it's held tight. No loose clothing, guys. It's so dangerous when you're around spinning items like this. Number 4. Well, number 4 is not necessarily about our friend the circle cutter, or as I like to call him, the Knuckle Buster. It's more about the fence. And what it is, guys, is when you're using, say, a Knuckle Buster like this, don't try to hold the stock with your hands. And while Holddowns, as I said earlier, do a great job to keep your hands away from this, another fantastic method is to use your fence. And when you're aligned up here like this, you know that this is where you want to do the cutting. You just tighten down your fence so that it's ready to go. And as well as your Holddowns, your fence will not allow this piece to spin out of control, freeing up your hands so that you don't have to get them so close. Just make sure that you give this a bit of a twist to make sure it's not going to contact your fence. So this tip, use your fence to help support as well as to help align. Number 3. Well, number 3 has a lot to do with the drilling operation as far as drilling longer pieces or bigger pieces on the drill press. And here, although this is just a light piece of pine, it's just for visual demonstration. With the original drill press table on here, there isn't much support for the piece. It has the potential to tip down. And a lot of your energy and a lot of your thought process is spent on concentrating on holding this down and keeping it from tipping. So how do you avoid that? Well, in my opinion, one of the best ways to avoid that is with an aftermarket or a shop-made drill press table. There's a reason that woodworkers have these auxiliary tables on their drill presses. And it isn't just to have this fancy shop-made thing. It is to give extra support for longer pieces of wood. So now if you wanted to drill in this end here, a quick simple hold down on this side would keep it from spinning, and your energy is not spent on trying to keep this piece from teetering over the edge of your work table. It's fully supported. And because of that, it's a safer cut. Your energy is concentrating on the task at hand, which is drilling the hole. So there you go. At number 3, fully supported pieces by use of a drill press table. Number 2. Well, some of you are probably going to laugh at me for number 2 and think, what kind of a moron would do that? But it happens. And number 2 is to remove your chuck key after you tighten your chuck. Now, for the majority of you out there that are watching this program, it's not going to apply to you because the majority of the new safety chuck keys have this little spring-loaded pin. And that spring-loaded pin automatically pops this key out and will not let it sit in there. No matter how I try, I can't get that to seat in there. But the older drill presses, I had one of them, the older drill presses didn't have that. And that chuck key could be left sitting in here. As soon as you turn that drill press on, what happens with that chuck key? Well, that thing fires out like a bullet. It's crazy. Guys, honestly, the reason that these springy things here were invented was because there was too many people getting smacked in the face with their chuck keys. So although it doesn't apply, or it probably won't apply to the majority of you, for those of you out there that love the vintage tools and have them, nothing wrong with that. But please remember to remove your chuck key if it does not have the safety spring thingy here. Thingy. You know, this thing. Number 1. Number 1 could not be simpler, could not be easier to use. It could not be, well, it's number 1 for a reason. And it's a pair of safety glasses or any PPE that you might need for the drill press. Guys, sometimes if you're drilling something like steel, that steel can scream if you're not using enough lubrication. And that screaming could do damage to your hearing. So for those types of operations, I would suggest the PPE of earplugs or earmuffs. That isn't all the time. That is rare. If you're drilling a Forstner bit hole through maple, I really don't think you need hearing protection unless your drill press is diesel. But safety glasses are an absolute must. And it's far too easy for something to break and come flying off of it anytime that you're using a machine that has the potential for high RPMs. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your sight. You got to protect those eyes. So please, at number 1, safety goggles or glasses. And there you have it. My top 10 safety tips for the drill press. Guys, the drill press is one of the more timid tools in the shop, but that doesn't mean that it can't do damage. You still have to have the respect for it and use it properly and protect yourself from it, because honestly, it doesn't care if you get hurt. You have to look after yourself. This is not a definitive list, as I've said before. None of my top 10 are definitive lists. There are many more ways that you could protect yourself on a drill press, and these are not the only ones that are out there. If you have other suggestions that you'd like to make, guys, I'd love to hear them. So drop them in the comments below and share them with everybody else as well. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, share the video, and click the bell so that you don't miss notifications of future episodes of the show. I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week. I honestly hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're going to join me again next week for yet another Alternative Tuesdays.